we're going to do lesson 15. So you're going to need a few things. You'll need this page. It's stapled. We're going to start working on the front page. So this won't be for you to do on your own. We'll be working on it together. So get that ready. You also should have a page that looks like this. It has square grids on one side and triangle grids on another. You need a straight edge and whatever you use to show a right angle. I just use the circular protractor and fold it up so I have the right angle. All right, so look at number 1 there. We're going to construct quadrilaterals with at least one set of parallel sides. So think about what you know about a quadrilateral. The word or the root quad means how many? 4. So quadrilateral has to have 4 sides. What shapes do you know right away that have 4 sides? A square and a rectangle. Those are the ones that come to mind right away. So we're going to construct a different quadrilateral. It may end up being the same, but it'll be different in its name also. Quadrilaterals have kind of a unique ability. With some of their shapes, there's multiple names you could call them. So, like for instance, you know this one is a rectangle, right? That's not a perfect rectangle because it does, you'll see in a minute, it does have to have 4 right angles. Okay, what would you call this one if I were to measure it out perfectly? A square, 4 right angles, and all the sides the same. However, a square is also a rectangle because a rectangle just has to have 4 sides and 4 right angles, and a square has that. All right, so you're going to see that there's multiple names to call something. So I want you to look at number 1. I'm going to be drawing on my board, but you're drawing on your paper. All right, so yours may be smaller than what mine are, and they don't all have to look exactly the same. You just have to follow the directions. All right, so we're going to construct a quadrilateral with at least one set of parallel lines. So we're going to start with the parallel lines. You need to draw a horizontal line. Think of the horizon, like if this was the sunrise, this line here is the horizon. Okay, so anything that's horizontal is straight across, okay? Vertical is up and down. Almost think of it like basketball. Your vertical is how high you can jump. That's how I remember the difference. So draw a horizontal line. Mine is going to be a lot larger than what I expect you to draw, just because I want you to see it. All right? Then what we're going to do is we're going to make another line. Now, it's easy to just say, oh, I'll just draw another line up there. But in order for it to truly be parallel, it needs to be that it has a right angle. Okay, now, they don't have to have a right angle in our full shape, but I have to use this to show, hey, this is right along here, and it's parallel, though they're never going to meet. All right, so draw. I have to set mine down to do it. Leave yours here. Put your ruler or straight edge there across and draw your line. It's okay that our lines are not going to be perfect. In fact, some of the lines are going to end up being over. So like when I draw this line here, you're going to see there's some extras. Okay, so now I want you to draw another line, a perpendicular line. Okay, so these are parallel, they'll never meet. Perpendicular means they're going to intersect, but there should be what kind of angle? A 90-degree angle. So one of them, let's make 90 degrees. I'm just going to do this one because I already know that was 90 degrees. I already measured it. So I'm going to use my straight edge and draw a line. You do that also, and I'm just going to show you, look, it's okay that mine go over. All right, I don't personally like it because it looks messy. But while we're just constructing them, don't worry about it if it goes over. All right? And then I want you to make one other line somewhere that connects the two parallel lines but does not intersect with this third line. Okay? So yours could be straight up and down. I'm going to draw mine a little slanted. Okay? And then for me, I'm going to erase some of these other lines. Don't worry that the line segments go over the top. All right? If it does bother you, just erase them. Okay? All right. I want you to look at this. Does your shape look exactly like mine? Look around at the people around you. Do they all look the same? Probably not. Do they all have four sides? Then they're a quadrilateral. Do they have at least one set of parallel lines? Lines that run along each other like a road that will never meet. If so, then you just drew a trapezoid. Okay? So, although you may have a perfect rectangle, let's say you call it a rectangle, if it has at least one set of parallel lines, it's also a trapezoid. And that's what we can classify those as, is a trapezoid. All right, now we're going to do number 2. We're going to construct a quadrilateral with 2 sets of parallel lines. So I want you to do the same thing. I want a horizontal line, and then I want you to use your right angle just to be sure that they're parallel. Okay, so I can even draw a little dot right there. And then use my straight edge. Go ahead and do this while I'm doing mine. Okay, I have a set of parallel lines. Now, I want the lines on the side to be parallel. Do they have to be 90 degrees? They don't, but I have to make sure that they are the same. So I either have to connect using the 90-degree angle, or watch what I can do. I could connect it like this, get rid of this. In order to make this one parallel over here, I have to measure it. Now, I can make a shape that looks like this. And I can be fairly close. Okay, that's a lot of the times how we draw our shapes. Just freehand is what it's called. However, when you're doing it for math, when you're making geometrical shapes, we have to make sure that they line up. Okay, so if you're going to make it slanted, then quickly measure yours so that you are sure that you have them exactly the same. Okay, those angles have to be the same in order to be parallel. All right, so draw yours and look at it. Do you have 2 sets of parallel lines? Mine has one here, top and bottom, and side. Okay, that means it's still a trapezoid because it has at least one set of parallel lines, but it's a special trapezoid called a parallelogram. What word do you hear in it? Parallel. I like saying this, parallelogram. All right, so next to number 1, I want you to write the word trapezoid. And then next to number 2, I want trapezoid and parallelogram. You can pause the video to write those on if you need to, but make sure that they're both on there because I want you to see that these are different types of them. All right, so look at number 3. You're going to construct a parallelogram with 4 right angles. Okay, so if it's a parallelogram, what does it have to have? Look at number 2. It has to have 2 sets of parallel lines. All right, and then what are our angles have to be? They all have to be right angles. Okay, so draw a horizontal line and then use your right angle. You can draw the dot, okay? And then use your straight edge to draw that across. And then since that was a right angle, I know I can connect them. So now you'll be connecting them straight, no slants, okay? Do that on both sides. And if you want to, you can erase any extras you get there. Okay, if it has 4 right angles, draw your right angles in there. What shape is that? 4 sides, 4 right angles. It's a rectangle. What else is it? It has 2 sets of parallel lines. So it's a parallelogram. Hopefully you'll get good at spelling this word. Parallel and then ogram. What's another name for it? What's a word for a shape that has at least one set of parallel lines? Did you say this word? I'm checking my spelling. Trapezoid. And if it has 4 sides, we know it's what? Quadrilateral. You could write that one on there if you want, because it has 4 sides, so we know that. All right, then number 4, it says construct a rectangle with all sides the same length. Well, if it's a rectangle, we know it must have what? 4 right angles. What shape has 4 right angles, 4 sides, and all sides the same length? It's a square. Very good. It's still a rectangle. Okay, so I'm going to add square on here, and then I'm going to change mine to make it a square, and I want you to construct a square. Okay, you're going to do it the same way we did for the rectangle, except before you do this final side, you're going to have to measure. How far away did you put the 2 parallel lines? Whatever that is, mine is 2 inches. Well, I have to make sure each side is 2 inches long. All right, so I want you to construct that. Make a horizontal line. Use your right angle to make this second horizontal line. Use your straight edge to connect right on the side there, and then measure it. Mine measured 2 inches. Yours does not have to. It could be a lot smaller. Since you have less room on the paper, you may be using the centimeter side. Okay, I measured mine right there. So that's 2 inches. I'm going to connect at the 2-inch spot. I'm going to erase all my extras, which it doesn't really matter if you erase or not. And then what else do I need to add? My right angles. And that is a square, which is a special kind of rectangle, which is also a parallelogram because it has 2 sets of parallel lines, and it's a trapezoid, a special trapezoid because trapezoids have at least 1 set of parallel lines. All right, so you can practice with those depending on how much time there is. You may have 1 extra day to be practicing with those as well. But when there's time, you're either going to stop the video now and work on it, or after we finish what we're going to draw with the grid paper. When there's time, there's some work for you to do on the back side with naming the shapes and then explaining. Use complete sentences. It says, explain the attribute that makes a square a special rectangle. What they're saying is, what's special about a square? It has what? All 4 sides the same. All right? So explain these. Use complete sentences. All right? So set that to the side. And let's get this paper. We're actually going to start on this side. This is a triangle grid. All right? So get that ready, and then we're going to construct some other shapes. All right, looking at the triangles, these triangles are all equilateral triangles. What does that mean? All 3 sides are the exact same. All right, so I want you to shade in 2 triangles that are side by side. That means they share 1 side. So shade those in and show what you have. Look at everybody else's and look at it and see, what do you have? What can you say about those shapes? Okay, what did you find? How many sides does it have? It has 4. Okay, what else do you notice about it? There's a set of parallel lines on the top. So if it has at least one set of parallel lines, it's a trapezoid. There's parallel lines on the other side. It has 2 sets of parallel lines. So that's a parallelogram. Very good. All right. What kind of angles does it have? I see acute little one, and an obtuse one on that side. So it does not have right angles. So can it be a rectangle? It cannot be a rectangle. So it also cannot be a square, even though all 4 sides are the same length. This is called a rhombus. A rhombus is a parallelogram, but it does not have the 4 right angles. I always think of a square slanted. That's how I think of it. All right, let's try to draw a rectangle. So what I want you to do is I want you to take from one line where it has horizontal. If you look too close, they kind of blur. All right, I want you to go down 1, 2 lines, just like that. Okay, if you need to use your straight edge to make it really neat and straight, do that. Mine was a little bumpy, so I'm going to make that straight. Okay, and then I want you to do the same thing a few spaces over to make parallel lines. So it's up to you how far over you go, how many triangles over you go. Okay, so make parallel lines. All right, how many sets of parallel lines does a rectangle have? 2. There's 1 set. Where's my other set going? Right here. What else does a rectangle have? 4 right angles. Now, I can see that the right angles are already set up because they have the perpendicular lines right there. I can trace right over that and have straight lines. And then I can see that there's already right angles. But you can pause the video and check with your right angle template if you'd like to do that. All right, so I can construct a rectangle right there. What other names are there for a rectangle? Parallelogram and trapezoid. And then what's that word that means it has 4 sides? Quadrilateral. Good. Pause the video for a minute, and I want you to draw a few other shapes. So draw a few rhombuses, different sizes. Draw a parallelogram. So it could be just like this. This is often just called a rectangle, and then a parallelogram is like a rectangle slanted. But this is also a parallelogram. So draw somewhere they're slanted using your straight edge. So spend a couple minutes drawing and talking about them with your partner. Explain all the names, tell all the names of the shapes you made, and explain how you know that. And then when you start the video again, we'll be on the other side. Hopefully you didn't use marker. I'll flip mine upside down. You'll be on the other side with the grid. All right, I want you to look at this. Tell me what shapes you can see just looking at the grid. I see, what are these little ones? It's a square. I can see a square, shade a square in. I'm gonna use my big marker. Okay? Can you see anything else? I can see a rectangle. I could shade 2 of them in. It's no longer a square because now it's 2 lines across, or 2 boxes across, but only 1 up and down, so they're not the same. What if you did 4 squares? That's still a square. Now it's 2 down and 2 across all the way around. All right, so what you're going to do, I'm not I'm not going to spend too much more time showing you mine, but I want you to practice using these grids. I want you to make some different shapes. So one of them that I want you to try to do is a parallelogram that has no right angles. That one we're going to do together, and then you're going to spend some time making some other shapes. So draw 2 parallel lines. Do that to start with. You don't even need the straight edge because the lines are right there for you. Okay? Now, if I use right angles, I can connect them right along the sides or along any of these. How am I going to do it to not have any right angles? Did you say connect them diagonally? There's no right angles, and I can see right through these because these squares give me a 90-degree angle. And I went right through that. That's not a 90-degree angle, right? And then do that again, just further down or further to the side. All right, so what I want you to do is end the video and spend a few minutes making a few different shapes. So make some rectangles and squares, make some rhombuses. So that's like a square. That means the sides are all the same. However, they don't have the 90-degree angles. Okay, make some parallelograms, some other parallelograms without 90-degree angles, and then switch with your partner and describe each other's shapes that you created. What makes them the shapes that they are? You can even practice with your protractor, checking the different angles, right? And then when you're done practicing, spend some time following the directions on these grids, and they'll have you create shapes, construct some different shapes, and use the words, okay? And then, of course, you know my favorite ones, writing. You're going to explain. It's super important that you're able to explain what it is that you're doing. Don't just follow the directions. Don't just say, oh, I know that's a parallelogram. Know why it is. Why can you call it a trapezoid when it has more than one set of parallel lines? What's the reason? Because the answer is a trapezoid has at least one set of parallel lines. Why is a trapezoid not a parallelogram? Because a parallelogram must have what? 2 sets of parallel lines. So I want you to practice with those and then finish this really working on explaining. And if it's hard to get it written down at first, talk to somebody. That means explain it to them and then write it down. Do your very best.